Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. We have another edition of my series Best Cards in Reign of Bahamut dropping September 29th, and today we're going to be talking about Abysscraft. Abysscraft has a couple of cool cards coming out, not nearly as many in my opinion as Sword or Haven that we've already covered, but it has some really good additions for things like control versions of the deck, aggro versions of the deck, and some cards that are just good enough in general to where they're probably going to be made to the roster or included in the roster, one way or another. So without further ado, the first card I wanted to talk about is Underworld Watchman Kaiwi. This is actually a pretty classic card from the original game, but I think it cost 7, I don't know. I could be wrong. Anyway, this card is going to be very good for a control Abyss deck, as it's a really good way of stopping your opponent from getting a bit too aggressive on you. Underworld Watchman Kaiwi is a 5-cost follower with 5 attack, 5 offense, ward, and the last words effect that reads, choose an enemy follower, destroy it, add X to your leader's health, and X is the chosen follower's attack. So dropping this on your opponent means they will likely opt to swing into this with their strongest followers first, because if the strongest followers get destroyed in that battle, you only take out a smaller follower with less attack, meaning you only gain a little bit of health as opposed to killing their strongest monster. Taking out 2 followers with 1 and recovering health is a really good trade for you, which is why I think this card is a really solid card if you're looking to play a control build with the Abysscraft deck. You do want to be careful about certain matchups like Haven, strictly due to the fact that they'll be playing cards that banish followers, such as Blackened Scripture or Acolyte's Light, of course, meaning that your last words effect will not trigger, but otherwise I think people are going to respect this card, I feel. Sticking to control, the next card I wanted to mention is Soul Dealer. Soul Dealer is a 4-cost follower with a nice and healthy 6 attack, 5 defense, ward, and a fanfare effect that causes you to do 3 damage to your leader, so that's not very nice, but it does trigger Sanguine. Soul Dealer can also evolve for 2 play points, and when evolved, Soul Dealer gets a stat increase to 7/6 and can choose an enemy follower to destroy. It doesn't care what its stats are, you just pick one and pop it. And after you destroy your opponent's follower, your leader gains health equal to what that follower's attack was on the field. Pretty straightforward, very strong, I think. I mean, imagine your opponent dropping a Bahamut on you, feeling good that they cleared your board, and you just drop this guy, pop the Bahamut, you gain 9 or 11 health, and then your opponent is just staring at a 7/6 attack Chad that they're going to be pressured to deal with. Very cool card, and definitely a legendary that I won't be disappointed to pull. And I think this card will be good for either, like I said, control, but it's so good that it might even be just in any Abyss deck. So look out for Soul Dealer. I'm sure you'll see him a lot come in BP2 format. Okay, for the aggro players, you get a very nice upgrade in the form of a 2-cost follower when Reign of Bahamut drops. Trick Duhan has 3 attack, 2 defense, and a fanfare effect that places 1 ghost in your EX area, or 3 ghosts if you've achieved Necrocharge 10, which is very hard to do very early on. Trick Duhan does not have an evolve, so I don't blame you for thinking at first that at first glance that it doesn't look as good as cards like Lilith, which can heal when evolved. But I want to point out, for those who have not played aggro Abyss before, that sometimes your strategy becomes hoping one of your smaller followers that doesn't have Storm lives your opponent's turn, so you can use cards like Cerberus, which can get you token cards like Coco, to buff your weenies and hit your opponent for some big chip damage. So essentially, Trick Duhan kind of aligns with Cerberus as a setup card. You can play Duhan in your early turns, and because your ghost is in your EX area, it's probably safe to assume you can keep it there until you've set up 2 Coco with Cerberus, and then suddenly you have a 1 play point ghost out with 5/1 Storm. That's very good damage, especially considering you'll still have more play points to do additional damage and overwhelm your opponent. The next card I wanted to talk about is another one that might take up some 2-cost spots. We have a lot of 2-cost followers that are coming into play today. Demonic Hedonist is a 2-cost, 2 attack, 2 defense follower with the effect, at the start of your end phase, if Sanguine is active for you, draw a card, then discard a card. It can also evolve for only 1 play point, and when evolved, Hedonist gets a stat buff to 3/3 and gains the strike ability, deal 1 damage to all leaders, meaning you and your opponent both take 1 damage. So if you went second on turn 2, you can evolve this card, attack over something small, and deal 1 damage to both leaders, which means at the end phase, you'll draw, then discard a card, getting you closer to being necro charged. If this card goes unanswered, you could also just, swing into your opponent, which will deal a total of 4 damage because 1 from its effect and 3 from its attack, which is nothing to scoff at. So anyway, Sanguine will be active. You draw a card, discard a card, and this card is just a really, really solid one to keep your eyes on in the next set. And finally, the last card that I wanted to talk about today for Abyss is Vate Vampire Noble. This guy here is another 2-cost follower with 2 attack, 2 defense, and a strike effect that allows him to put a forest bat directly onto the field for free. Vate can also evolve for 1 play point, and when evolved, he gets a small stat buff to 3/3 and puts another forest bat into your EX area. So ideally on evolve, you'll swing into an opponent's follower, summon a bat for free, and if you have the points for it, you can bring the other bat from your EX area out, so you have 3 bodies from 1 card. And like I was saying with Trick Duhan, often your strategy for aggro is taking advantage of the little weenies, hoping they live, spreading your board wide, and eventually buffing them with cards like Coco, so that way those little weenies become, hot dogs or whatever you want to say. And they're hitting your opponent for big chip damage. Every bit of damage counts in aggro. You want to get as much value as possible, whether it's just a 1 from a bat or if it's a 3/1 or a 5/1 because of Coco. So anyway, that's all I got for you today. I hope you learned something, and I hope you're looking forward to Abyss in the next set. Please like, comment, subscribe, and consider sharing with your friends. As always, it's the only way for my channel to grow. Thanks so much, guys. Bye-bye.